What's up, everybody? This is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about the best investing and breaking news with everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today, we're going to be doing a highlight recap of the B word. A lot of exciting topics in this online discussion. In this panel, we're going to be talking about the reflections on Cathie Wood, Elon Musk, and Jack Dorsey's relationship with Bitcoin and the road moving forward. So let's go ahead and begin. First topic. Elon Musk, relationship with currency and crypto.
It's best to think of money as an information system, primarily an information system for labor allocation. The vast majority of the systems out there are batch processing. So the actual reconciliation may take 1 to 5 business days, sometimes longer. And you have the ACH system, which is ancient and still in operation, which is allows transfers effectively like a check would be an ACH transfer, but it's not secure. And you've got the credit card systems, which are also not secure. It would be like handing your username and password to a stranger in a restaurant if you buy a meal. So there's definitely an opportunity for something that is better from an information theory standpoint. So, but it's fundamentally an information system. So I think it makes sense to support something that improves the quality of information with which we conduct the economy. And Bitcoin is a candidate for that. In general, I'm a supporter of Bitcoin and the idea of cryptocurrency in general. I do own Bitcoin, and Tesla owns Bitcoin, SpaceX owns Bitcoin, and I do personally own a bit of Ethereum and Dogecoin, of course.
So some highlights from this presentation with Elon Musk. Well, definitely one thing, traditional information systems are pretty much outdated. So when you think about banks running with the Federal Reserve and working with, government aid to credit cards, they're slow, they're outdated. Most times when you go to a governmental building, a lot of the computers are old and they just haven't been updated in a way that can handle the volume in today's technological standpoint. So he definitely proves a really good point there. And also, Elon still supports Bitcoin. There's a lot of wonder around, does he even hold any Bitcoin? Did he sell his Bitcoin? Just let us know. And there wasn't any transparency with that because this was the first time we saw Elon speak on a panel. We've only seen him tweet some either jokes, memes, or serious actions that Tesla's going to make. And still to this day, Tesla, and on top of that, SpaceX own Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Tesla, we already knew, the 1.5 billion. But SpaceX, that is actually breaking news. This is the first time he's ever mentioned that SpaceX had owned any Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And also, who's to say that Tesla and SpaceX haven't still accumulated more of Bitcoin during these dips? There's no certainty around that. And hopefully next week or the week after, we see the quarterly reports from these companies, and maybe it'll provide a little bit more transparency. And also, new news, Elon Musk owns Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge. People knew he owned Bitcoin and Doge, but Ethereum was completely shocking. And I think this is due to, when Vitalik spoke on Lex Fridman's podcast, he had welcomed the idea of Doge and Ethereum working together to have faster transactions, to be more scalable, maybe a different layer solution. But maybe this is why he decided to acquire some ETH in his portfolio. Jack Dorsey, the Ethiopian story.
I met a woman in Ethiopia 2 years ago, and she was trying to create the lift for Ethiopia. Elon, I think I reached out to you at that time as well because she really wanted some Teslas. She still has to take paper fiat cash from her passengers and pay all of her drivers in the same way because there's no monetary system that she can utilize. There's nothing digital. And Africa as a continent is hugely interconnected from a monetary standpoint, but also hugely taxed in that same way. So a lot of the potential that I see, the internet having a native currency helps her build her business in a much faster way.
The impoverished communities are taxed more. So basically, when you have these foreign countries, there are definitely more remittances around these communities. because they don't have access to their own banks. They don't have access to an account where they can store that money somewhere. So when they want to send money through either MoneyGram, Western Union, there's a middleman that's getting a huge cut, and that can cost from anywhere from 5 to 30%. Also in this, fiat currency is the only form of payment. If it's the only form of payment there, then easily someone can take that money away from you by taking a tax. It's almost like a different way of stealing money, but in a legalized way. And that's the problem when people don't have access to bank accounts, and why Bitcoin can offer these people that financial freedom, that economic empowerment, to give them access to these assets. Economic wealth is stripped away from citizens, and could be far from the truth. When you see communities who don't have access to limited supply of foods, water, electricity, you start to realize we keep pushing them down there is because we're actually taking money away from them, because they're willing to do as much work to get a single dollar in a day. They're willing to sacrifice their mental and physical strength. And in a way, you're kind of making people be obedient as a society. And it takes years and years and generations to have that type of power over a community. And so Bitcoin is the straw on the camel's back. And this is something that I think is quite awesome that Jack has addressed. Cathie Woods, Bitcoin is key.
And so this store of value, this idea that purchasing power will go up over time if demand rises relative to supply ultimately fixed at 21 million units. That's a very good thing. Purchasing power going up globally around the world. And this idea that it's a hedge against confiscation of wealth. And that can take place in a myriad of ways. But inflation, and especially hyperinflation in emerging markets, is the primary way. Talk about destroying purchasing power. So that's a very big idea.
Some key takeaways from Cathie Woods. Global purchasing power is inevitable. Eventually, this is going to be... you can't stop people from purchasing this. People are going to find a way. Either they use VPNs, they have access to a phone. They're going to eventually be able to acquire all of these cryptocurrencies. So it's just inevitable that this is going to happen. Bitcoin is a hedge against hyperinflation. Why that's so important? Because the dollar is shrinking years and years over time, and soon that dollar will be worth almost just 10 cents. 10 cents back then used to be worth a lot. You could buy food with 10 cents. 10 cents could probably even get you a sandwich back then. But now, due to inflation over those generations, obviously a sandwich would cost you now $15, depending on where you go. BTC is a hedge against confiscation of wealth. So low-income individuals and families never have the opportunity for financial freedom. All it takes is the opportunity. Opportunity is all that people need in order to have that financial freedom. But the thing is, you have banks, you have middle people who are taking that large percentage away from them. Either they're being taxed through sending money, or they're being taxed through capital gains or through income tax. And you realize, is the government here for me? Is the banks here for me? Is Social Security there to save me in the end? Think about it. Jack Dorsey, the remittance problem.
If I happen to be in Ghana and my family is in Nigeria, currently I can take anywhere from, and I need to send money back, anywhere from 10 to 30% off the top just to send that money back. Whereas if you just focus on the worldwide remittance problem, Bitcoin solves so many of those problems today instantly without having to go through any intermediaries or any slowness or complicated systems that a corporation or a state created. So I think having sound money that is separate from the state is the idea. Having it completely verifiable by everyone, including the state, including corporations, including individuals, including developers who want to build on top of it, is quite powerful, and that's what keeps it secure.
Well, sending currency globally costs up to 30% of fees, which we do know. BTC removes the intermediaries from taxing you, which we do know. BTC is verifiable by everyone. not just corporations or banks alone. And another thing that Jack mentioned is the quickness, the fastness of sending your currency globally. With cryptocurrencies, because it's done with a blockchain, because it's a community verifying each transaction to make sure it's not fraudulent, it is sent quicker. It does not take 1 to 5 business days. It does not take 10 days. And it does not leave you wondering, did my money get received by the recipient? You are just waiting up to 20 minutes to 30 minutes for that transaction to be verified and sent immediately across the world. Elon Musk, Bitcoin scalability solution.
But Bitcoin by itself simply cannot scale to be the monetary system for the world at base layer. But with a second layer, this is possible depending upon how that second layer is implemented. If the price of Bitcoin goes down, I lose money. I'm not sort of, I might pump, but I don't dump. So I definitely do not believe in getting the price high and selling or anything like that. And I would like to see Bitcoin succeed. This is not a slam on Bitcoin. There's some merit to considering something that has higher max transaction rates and a lower transaction cost. I think you can probably take that further than people realize. And as bandwidth increases over time, latency decreases. SpaceX's Starlink is actually playing a role in this.
Some key takeaways from Elon Musk. Bitcoin needs a second layer solution for higher transactions and lower costs. Because right now, the transactions, they take up a lot of energy. That's the thing that Elon Musk and Tesla's kind of stated, is that the amount of Bitcoin mining for each transaction is massive. And so adding a second layer solution, almost how Polygon is a second layer solution of scalability for Ethereum, and look how that did for Ethereum. It did so well. That's all he's kind of saying, is like the base layer is just consuming so much energy. So how can we have these higher transactions and lower costs? Maybe let's have that discussion. And in this, Elon Musk admits he has not sold any of his Bitcoin. He does not plan to sell any of his Bitcoin. He has diamond hands. Starlink will play a major role in Bitcoin. Just think about that. Starlink is already out there in our space atmosphere, and it's already providing test nets for people around the world to have access to the interwebs. That way, if people in the smallest of countries have a signal, they can use a phone in the most remote areas, and that way they can download these apps, these exchanges, either if it's Coinbase or whatever trading platform that they have in their own region. They will have access to have the purchasing power to acquire these assets, especially Bitcoin, so they can have long-term wealth. And that's the goal, isn't it? Elon Musk, 2008 versus 2021.
These things are helpful to use the physics tools of thinking and say, scale up, scale down, and see if it still makes sense. So if scaling up the transaction block doesn't make sense, why don't you scale it down? And have it be, so that somebody, with a laptop from 2008 can still run a Bitcoin node. These parameters were set, in 2008 or something, maybe 2009. And there've been some improvements since then, but not a lot. In 2008, there was still a non-trivial number of people on modems. So, now it is quite common to get 100 megabit connection just for a house. Some houses have gigabit connections. So, and that trend is obviously in the direction of higher bandwidth and lower latency. And if somebody else doesn't do it, Starlink certainly will.
He's reverse engineering scalability. So some examples, say for instance with SpaceX, he's saying, why scale up when you can only scale down? So Elon Musk is known for doing everything in reverse engineering things. So if we're spending a lot of money trying to build rockets and send them into space, why not make those rockets reusable? And, you would save billions upon millions upon billions of dollars and just use that and allocate that to something like furthering the technology or broadening the space horizon and maybe saving that money to actually create another business, which is Starlink. Another example is Tesla. So with Tesla, they were able to look back and say, why weren't we able to create electric cars? Why are we still depending on fossil fuels while the gas prices increase year after year? So why not create a car that has regenerative braking? Why not have autopilot and also make it affordable by just putting in the effort and money into the study of things, into the science of things? Because that's ends up saving you long money in the long term. That's what makes it so progressive. And also he addressed consuming less energy while increasing global decentralization. Well, if you want to scale up, scale down. Well, if you take that sentence into play, you can get more of a bigger benefit by reaching on a global scale by not using as much energy. I mean, that just makes more sense. People don't really think like that. And that's why Elon, he questions everything. With Starlink is primed to support this cause. And I think this could be a secret agenda that he isn't blatantly speaking out, but Starlink actually has a huge advantage over any other company in terms of its relationship with cryptocurrency world. Because Starlink will take cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin, take that whole culture and that decentralization of financing onto a whole new level. Elon Musk, Bitcoin, Tesla, and the sustainable problem.
There appears to be a positive trend in the energy usage of Bitcoin. Actually, part of this is due to the drop in Bitcoin price. Tesla announced that it had acquired Bitcoin and was doing Bitcoin transactions. There was a massive run-up in the Bitcoin price, and also a massive increase in the amount of energy used to mine Bitcoin. And I think I understand renewable energy quite a bit. I mean, Tesla does solar and interacts with a lot of wind generation through our mega pack, because basically need to store energy from wind and from solar. So we're pretty plugged into the renewable energy industry, and there's just no way that you could basically double or triple the amount of energy in such a short period of time with renewables. You could shovel coal that fast, and so I was like, look, this is too sketchy. Tesla's mission is accelerating the advent of sustainable energy. We can't be the company that does that and also not do appropriate diligence on the energy usage of Bitcoin. So all I did was I said, look, we're going to suspend Bitcoin transactions for now. We're not selling any Bitcoin, nor am I selling anything personally, nor is SpaceX selling any Bitcoin. Again, I want to emphasize SpaceX, Tesla, and I own Bitcoin. I also own a little bit of Ethereum and Doge, but the companies just own Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin that I own is worth much more than the Ethereum or Doge. So clearly, if I'm, if these actions negatively affect me financially, if I was purely financially motivated, then I would not express this reticence about Bitcoin energy usage.
Tesla's Bitcoin announcement sparked a possible coal surge in Bitcoin price. So what that means is after Tesla announced that they had acquired it on their balance sheets, Bitcoin, as you've noticed, the price started to skyrocket. It went from, I think it was around $15,000, $19,000, and then shot up to $60,000. That's incredibly crazy. And Elon started to recognize that how the mining of these transactions of Bitcoin at such huge volumes, how are they able to do that? And the only possible way to have the type of energy support is through coal. There's no way that wind or solar could do that by themselves. So Tesla unknowingly knew that these carbon consequences would happen, and then that's when they ceased accepting Bitcoin to stop possible coal mining, and it did, in a way. That's why, the Bitcoin price not only started to go down, but also we started seeing some news coming out of China that they were stopping their Bitcoin mining over there. And that was not sure if it was ever correlated with each other, but for Elon to provide some more clarification here, he's never really done this. Only on Twitter, he's tweeted one thing, which was diamond hands, which means he's not selling, he's holding it. So that was a bit of a surprise, and at least we know that he's in it for the long run. So also SpaceX, Tesla, Elon, they won't sell their Bitcoin. In a way, we would call them true hodlers, right? Which is hold on for dear life. And I just realized that I spelled hodled wrong. It's the L and the D are supposed to be reversed, so I apologize for that. So they're in it for the long run. They're in it just like us. And again, who knows if they've acquired more Bitcoin during these months that have happened since the dip. Elon Musk. Did Tesla's announcement reduce unsustainable mining?
It looks like Bitcoin is shifting a lot more towards renewables, and a bunch of the heavy-duty coal plants that were being used, unequivocally being used, this is not a question mark, have been shut down, especially in China. So I think it's probably, we want to do a little bit more diligence to confirm could confirm that the percentage of renewable energy usage is most likely sort of at or above 50%, and that there is there is a trend towards increasing that number. And if so, then Tesla will resume Bitcoin, accepting Bitcoin.
So this is great. He acknowledges that a lot of the coal mining around the world has started to halt or close down, especially in China, which is great. Again, not sure how China's correlation with Tesla's announcement came into play, but maybe China realized, since they have a Tesla factory down there, that they have a participation in the sustainable future and towards climate change, and they're trying to do their best to stop coal mining in general. But I think it's actually a hidden agenda that China just wants to stop their people or their citizens from acquiring Bitcoin, because that would provide them financial freedom. So as much as I like to think China had shut down the coal mining for Bitcoin because of Bitcoin, I don't think that's true. It was just another excuse for them to say, you know what, we're going to close these financial freedom routes so that we can gain control by releasing our digital yuan currency. And, that's just my personal opinion. Elon Musk wants due diligence before Tesla accepts Bitcoin, and it will soon come. Now, I think that this is good, because if you want any company to take something seriously, they have to do it slowly and they have to do it carefully. And due diligence is the most promising thing. And in this panel, Elon had already stated that he sees some promise and sees a trend towards cryptocurrencies going into a renewable route. And so, we have to take that into account, that he's seeing the progress, and he will start, acquiring more Bitcoin through his company Tesla in exchange for their cars. So that's definitely something very positive. Elon Musk. Who truly owns my cryptocurrency?
Own crypto in an exchange, and the exchange does not give you your private keys, it's not clear that you own anything. I mean, if there's something that, if that exchange breaks or is hacked or or is subject to seizure by the government or something like that, your crypto is gone. So in order to actually have a properly decentralized finance, which I'm a fan of, I think it makes sense, then you have to own your private keys. And you should be the only one who has your private keys. So if you're the only one who has the private keys, then you own it. If someone else has your private keys, effectively they own it too. And the security of your crypto is then dependent upon them or any entity that can affect them. So I think what Jack's doing sounds like a good idea, to have a hardware wallet that's the only thing that contains your private keys.
So Jack Dorsey is going to be creating a hardware wallet, and this is basically what we talked about before, which is you're taking your cryptocurrency and putting it into a device, and that is then removed from the blockchain so that you can store it safely and no one can gain access to it. And Elon Musk advises only you should have access to your security keys, which is, a series of words or phrases. So it could say Apple, bottom, jeans, suits. You get what I'm saying. And, this allows for that privacy for you to only have it, and you shouldn't be leaving it on, basically Elon Musk warns holding your crypto on hot wallets, and this is what we talked about before, is don't leave it on crypto exchanges. Eventually, if you are hodling for the long term and you're not day trading or leverage trading, then you should store it in a wallet device, and plenty of those devices out there And do your research about which ones you would recommend getting. And if you have a favorite, please, again, leave a comment down below. Elon Musk, monopoly of violence.
I think probably crypto, or some of the cryptocurrencies will make the future better, most likely. It's not, I always think of these things in terms of probabilities, but I think it's probably better for there to be a prosperous Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, maybe some others in the future. And I think it can have an empowering effect for individuals, and increase the power of the individual relative to government. And really, if you think of government is just a corporation in the limit. So sometimes some people are like against corporations but for government. It's like, guys, government is just a corporation in the limit. It's the biggest corporation of all, and it's got a monopoly on violence. So if you don't like corporations, you should really hate government.
Elon definitely brings up a good point. Cryptocurrency has the most probability of success, and it will empower people. And I like his thoughts on that because, for governments to be just another form of corporation, that's just, pulling the curtain back on what's really there. And, they just have a little bit more authority and even more money and more manipulation around, around what is sound money. And cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin especially, is threatening to the government or threatening to a corporation. So eventually, if the people garner the power as a community, what can the government do? Well, the government's going to try to strip that power away. And the thing is, you can't stop Bitcoin and the blockchain. It's already begun. It's already a movement. That's why it was designed, is that no matter what, if you try to stop it, it's like a cockroach. You try to kill it, you can't get rid of it though. Cathie Woods, advice for institutional investors.
Well, I guess the first piece of advice is, just make sure, and I actually learned this after both Square and Tesla put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The Bitcoin is being treated as an intangible asset. And so we need to get FASB to reconsider this, because with an intangible asset, if the asset goes up in price, it can't be marked up on their books. But if it goes down, it must be marked down. So, there's some asymmetry there, which is, we need to change that given what we believe Bitcoin is. Deflation, I think, is going to be a real thing. There's going to be good deflation caused by innovation. So demand will boom because of that. There's going to be bad deflation because so many companies out there have not been investing enough in innovation. Their products are going to go obsolete, and they're going to be stuck trying to service the debt that they piled on because their shareholders wanted profits and wanted them now.
Tesla's bank balances in Europe have negative interest rate. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Technically, if you've got like 2% inflation on 1% interest, you're technically minus 1% return. But nonetheless, it is quite annoying to just see your bank balance drop in real time in Europe. Europe has negative interest rates. This is insane.
Yeah. Paying the banks, paying the banks to hold
the bank to keep your money. I'm like, what?
It is crazy.
Like, what? We definitely move that into Bitcoin.
So you can tell they all agree on this. Bitcoin is being labeled as an intangible asset, and it needs to change. Good deflation is innovation. Bad deflation is companies falling behind innovation that will collect debt and be obsolete eventually. It's just a matter of time. Tesla has unfortunately experienced these negative interest rates in Europe. So that was a nice takeaway from there. Jack Dorsey, what area in Bitcoin should we be focusing on?
Yeah, I think that the Bitcoin network is beautifully designed as a protocol in the way it works. It went after a single problem, and it does in an absolutely astounding way. But I think the endpoints of people getting into it is still a little bit confusing. So I think the more energy we spend on wallets and making sure that wallets are simple and accessible and they're non-custodial as well. Yeah. I think the best example of this is that I know of is probably this wallet called Moon, And it's just simple, straightforward. It's it does an amazing thing with key management that my mom and friends new to Bitcoin can understand. Does amazing in storage, and it also has a very clever implementation of Lightning, so that you can use it in a transactional way without having to think about it, just with QR codes in a way that makes sense. So more work like that, I think, really brings us forward.
So Bitcoin is complex. Focus needs to be on hardware wallets. Right now, like say for instance with the Nano wallet, when you get these devices, and by the way, if you ever get hardware wallets, make sure they are from the manufacturer, not from a third party, because a lot of people have had their cryptocurrency stolen when they bought it from a third party because that third party had implemented some chip or device within that hardware wallet, and they were able to transfer their crypto out of that hardware wallet to somewhere around some other country. So make sure you get it directly from the manufacturer. But the thing is, it's actually quite complicated, these hardware wallets, when you're transferring your cryptocurrency from an exchange into that wallet. It's not like putting a dollar bill into your wallet. It is like coding, it's having enough gigabyte space, because the amount of cryptocurrency that you have depends on how much gigabytes of storage you must have in this device. And don't forget, you should never lose these hardware wallets, because if you lose these devices, your crypto's gone forever. And there have been many stories out there which you can look online of people losing billions and millions of dollars just for forgetting that they dropped it in the trash. Hardware wallets should be easy for transactions, key management, and QR codes. And, when this is really important, because even my parents, and I'm sure, people who aren't as tech savvy don't understand cryptocurrency. How are they going to understand a hardware wallet? If, cash is easy to understand, credit cards are easy to understand. You know why? It's because there was time and money spent to educate people. And so right now you have to create a hardware wallet that would educate someone easily, the way that, an Apple phone is easy to manage, or a Tesla car is easy to manage, compared to, a Dell computer where it's most easily hackable, to a stick shift car instead of a autopilot car, if you know what I'm talking about. QR codes is a great example as well, where you can, and we still use it today when we go to restaurants. We use our phones to pull up a code to pull up a menu, and look how that was easily adopted. So this is just a matter of time before hardware wallets will be easily used to keep people's crypto safe. Jack Dorsey, help people escape from monetary distraction.
My hope is that it creates world peace, or helps create world peace. I mean, Elon said it earlier. Like we have all these monopolies of violence, and the individual doesn't have power. And the amount of cost and distraction that comes from our monetary system today is real, and it takes away attention from the bigger problems. Some of the bigger problems that Elon is trying to solve, like get us to a multi-planetary humanity. All these distractions that we have to deal with on a daily basis take away from those bigger goals that affect every single person on this planet, increasingly so. So it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but like you fix that foundational level and everything above it improves in such a dramatic way. So it's going to be long term, but my hope is definitely peace.
So Jack Dorsey was just complimenting that monopolies of violence remove power from people, and the costs and distraction from monetary systems take away from more important key issues. So for instance, he was talking about multiplanetary traveling, from space travel, and also other key issues that we should be focusing on is climate change, and social and financial equity amongst the communities and cities and people. And if you don't have time to focus on these things because you're focused on war as a distraction, you're worried about, a oil pipeline being made in your town, if you're worried about the water being poisoned, well, guess what? A lot of those things that are happening is because we're not putting a lot of our money and attention to fix those things. And that's why in Flint, Michigan, they still have a water crisis where the pipes literally rotted and people have to use bottled water. And then we have certain states in the southeast that, experience hurricanes and flooding, and their infrastructure is crumbling. And we're seeing it, from our own eyes in 2021, this year. Like, look at how climate has affected them. And when you decouple the infrastructure of a city because of climate change, it sends a ripple effect. It hurts people financially. They don't know where to go, where to live. So you got to realize, like, Bitcoin actually will stop all these things from happening if you give them that power, and we shift our attention to the freedom currency, which is crypto. And so Bitcoin is a leader in that, and I think Jack Dorsey made an important key issue around that. So in conclusion, my personal thoughts of this whole panel is that you have three amazing people who know exactly what they're talking about, are very much aware of Bitcoin and its involvement around the world in the financial system. They know how people like us are struggling to basically have the financial wealth that we can live freely, but instead we feel like slaves. We feel like, you know, we have to pay our taxes in order to pay Uncle Sam. We have to pay our dues in terms of fees and transactions, especially, you know, holding money in our banks. So as much as people like to judge maybe these three in their own ways, you know, in the end, they all focus on the bigger picture, which is helping humanity evolve, progressing humanity into a new era, and getting out of this old IBM, old modem, old banking system, this old US dollar system, and evolving into this technology of informational database, and making sure that everything is transparent, that people can send money quickly across the world, they pay these less fees, and feel like we're a community. And those are my thoughts. It was certainly enjoyable for me. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for future videos. Leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts of the whole panel. And I'll see you guys next time.